So, as seen here, so there are numeric functions, string functions, container functions, object and class functions, and mainly functions are basically just things that you use and to um, to achieve a particular um, purpose or a particular predefined or to carry out predefined instructions. Like for instance, so for instance now, this print is a function, right? And what it does, um, it literally displays the content, what is inside of that print inside the argument bracket, and this length thing is also a function, and it does whatever it has been defined to do. And if you remember in our previous lessons, to define a function, you start with def, and then after that um, you um, you tell it all the things that you want it to do and all the instructions you want to carry out. Whatever you want to do, maybe you have an input, you tell it what to do with that input, and the end result after when you finish defining the list of instructions you want it to carry out, the end result will be output this at the end of these instructions, whatever the output will be. So, for example, if you want to um, define a function, and then you take if you define a function and then you define for x, let's take for example, let me define a sum function as follows. Why is that?
Is it going to take an argument so that you put bracket in front of the function?
Okay, define some function. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Um, so it takes A and B, and it should uh, do then just return or print A plus B. Right? And if I should, let me, and then if I do print some function 5 and 6, if I run that, okay, I don't know why this thing is run. Okay, this um my coding rubbish today.
So what you need to do, you remove print and remove print from the, no, leave that print in that one. After that function, remove print from the one below and just call that function and the parameters inside. You should be able to pick that up.
Okay, so that's it there. So why didn't print work? I wonder.
It's because you have already put print already into the
Inside there,
function. So all you just need to call the function
and then it
and put
automatically does
print
when
right
okay.
in.
Because
So,
I used to think, but sometimes, like for example,
or you could use print up down without using print up. So that means you have to remove, you have to
yeah,
use
if I so
return,
if I do return
return,
a plus b,
exactly.
and then I'll do
Bracket is not
print
full. Okay, exactly,
this,
exactly.
and then if I run it, okay, so it does the same thing. So that's basically what that's how this things. So that's what a function is really, and it's given a set of instructions. It can be more complex than this, but depending on what you want it to do and what you want these arguments to do, or what you want to do with the arguments, then you just plainly instruct it here, and then the function becomes usable. Now there are some built-in functions that are already there, some numeric functions. For example, if you have, there's one called, let me just use Python console to do this one. No, not console. Yeah, console. So it's still loading up the environment. Okay, so if I had x equals, let me put x as a string, then I can, there's a function called, let me just find it here. There's a function called int. So I can say print int. So int itself is the function, and what it does is that it converts the string into an integer. So it removes the string characteristics and converts it into an integer. There are other ones. There's another one called the float, and that one just, so if I do print float x, so what it does, it turns it into a floating number, just as so. And then the other one that might be maybe just worth looking at is abs. No, you have to do abs of int. So that's what. So it comes with 90. So what that does is it gives the absolute value. So if, for example, if I say x equals minus 90, but as a string, then I can repeat the same operation to turn x into an integer. Then I can repeat this this operation to turn it into a floating number, and I can repeat this operation to bring the absolute value, basically to get 90. And so those are inbuilt functions that the Python has, and there are several of them. Depending on what you're doing, you can always find them. There's a reposition, there's a library of them online where one can get all these functions. So I think this particular study is mainly on, I mean, this particular chapter, obviously there's a lot in there, but it's mainly as and when you need, or for which ones that you need. You can always call them and use them. Okay. Hello. Yeah, I'm done. You are muted though. I can't hear you. I can see your mouth is moving, but I can't hear you.
I brought my system close to myself because your screen, I couldn't see the console very well.
Ah, sorry.
Or there's a way you can increase the font, right?
No, there isn't. The
Oh,
problem is that the screen I'm using is large, so it's
oh,
really stretching. This is why I'm going to.
because that was the challenge. I was saying it's on like before. I was just wondering why is it on like before, but there's no problem. Um, oh, you are using a large system, so it was bigger.
Can you see it better now?
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe. Well, it's still the same. Maybe it's because I have to look at the console, not the entire window. So the console is even smaller than the length, the size of a phone screen. No
That's
problem.
it.
But I followed I followed. Okay, the the topic,
Modules.
the chapter 14. For me, I'm going to approach it in a different way from the way the man really approached it. Chapter 14 is more about modus. And in talking about modus, you can't just talk about modus independent of all other things that modus are related to. And, and that takes us to some things that we have to take a look at briefly today. So let me just share my screen as usual. I may not be very that organized, but I'll try. You can just always call me back.
Okay, no problem.
We have been doing Python all this wise, and we have been writing. Is either we write on what we call it. Is either we write on. Let me see. Oh, is either we write on a kind of a platform that is made available to us through the browser, something like the what do we call this, Jupyter, or we use something like let's say uh, development environment like that of Visual Studio
Mm-hmm.
Code or Commando. And when we take a look at it, we notice that the extension of whatever we are doing varies. If it is on what we call it, if it's on um, Jupyter, you will see that it's IPWB something something. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know whether you have seen, but if it's on what we call it on Commando, which is it's always PY, which is actual extension for
Python
Python
files.
script
Mm-hmm.
for Python 5. But at times, because when we write the script, you see that in the Python, the Jupyter platform seems to give us a kind of a console or a mixture of script and console, which is intertwined together. And when we run it, is it that you are using the Anaconda framework that Jupyter is part of to do the translation, the backend translation. But when you are using a development environment like what do we call this, like
Visual.
Visual Studio Code,
Mm-hmm.
it's the translation is coming from the system itself, and the system using the Python that you have already installed into the C of the system. So the system struggle to do all the translations out. And you notice that here, is either you use the console or you use what we call it, or you use the script. So the upper part of most development environment is always what we can say we're using the script So we're writing a script. For programmers, most programmers can write scripts without even running it until they are done. And they can write numerous scripts without running it. And if I relate that to web development, if I relate that to web development, before they came up with cascading style sheet, the CSS, when we want to structure a website, what we do is we use table, we draw table. And then just like somebody wants to structure something on Microsoft Word. And then when we draw a table, maybe on Dreamweaver, Dreamweaver generates a code. If you're using a Dreamweaver, you want to do very fast and it generates the code. But at the point, they realize that it's a little bit burdensome. And it's like, if you want to correct the website, if you want to correct something, you have to go to your Dreamweaver and correct from the entire framework because all of them are together, and then upload it again to the server, and it affects the changes. So they try to divide labor in such a way that you can draw the website on a paper. So you can draw the plan of what you want to develop, a design you want to develop, draw it on a paper and sketch it out with a cascading style sheet without even what we call it, seeing it yet. But when you have the HTML aspect, you bring it to life. You know, this will be clearer maybe late if since I'm using this example because I know you're a little bit into web. Now, this is what they do again. We do it again with Python that Python actually introduced. A way in which you can complete all your ideas. You can complete whatever you are developing even before you run it, even before you execute. And it's like you are writing an article. So someone comes to the console and write it, but there's a way that it can be interrelated. So let's say, for instance, now let's say on this particular whatever, we create a file, it's a new file, and we call this file, let's say, let's save it. You know, we know the directory that it's saving to, so we are working from just one single directory now. So let's say we save it, testing module, and it's a Python script. But this testing module that we are writing, it's not even the entire idea of what you have in mind to develop. It's just an aspect of what you are trying to develop. So, but you can write whatever you want to write. Let's say, for instance, this module will be performing a function in the main work or in the main projects that we are writing. So let's say this module that I do will just be like, if they will be doing greeting, let's say greeting. So we create, let's say, a function, it can be any other thing. And then we say the function will be greetings. And then we can say what will be the, any parameter that the person provides inside. Right?
Input your name.
Yeah, name.
Input
Exactly.
what is your name.
Okay, you can put what is your name, or we can do it this way, yeah, to generate a greetings. So we can say it should print out at the end of the day, it should print out hello, plus whatever the person provide in that whatever as name.
That's interesting. Why is it not obviously you have not defined the variable name? So why
Yeah, but
underline it?
you understand, because I'm creating a function. So if you understand that whatever the person supply, once the person calls that function, the person should provide name into the argument. So it speaks, it on function understand that very well. And you know, this is not a built-in function. I'm creating the function. So it will understand that a function is all about calling the name of the function, providing a parameter, giving the arguments of what should be executed. And what I'm saying this function should do is just print out when the person provides the
That
variable name
yeah.
I'm going to supply. But and then I can keep on writing, this is what you would do, that is what you would do, and this is what you do. And then all that this particular script is all about is in the real work that I'm doing, all it's going to do is greeting. So if in future, if the real work goes beyond greeting, is I'm developing a robot that will greet, that will abuse, that will laugh, you're saying something. That means I will have scripts different that we're executing now. If is greeting in a way that I want it to stop saying hello, because it has to be greeting people, they don't longer use hello again. All I need to do instead of working with the entire big script that has made the robot's ability is to just go and take this aspect of the script. Now, the idea of a module is any scripted work that we have done in Python, so far as we are going to call it in another place, it becomes a module. Like for instance now, let's just close this particular one, save it and close it. Test the module and close it. And let's now say this is now the main thing that is assembling everything together. So let's say save this particular script as the assemblage, robot assemblage. As a Python. Now, in this robot assemblage is going to be the one to deal with any Python script that I save as .py and which I will consider as a module within this particular assemblage. And I can always call it. And if I want to call it, for instance, what I can use will be, let's say I use something like import. So if I say import, what's the name of the module?
Greetings.
No, the real name. That
testing module.
Testing module.
Yeah.
Now, this thing understands it that whatever is in that script can be called inside this space. And
okay,
I have a function inside the testing module
called greeting.
Greeting, right? So I can just say greeting.
And then put in the
provide inside his name, Augustine. If I run this module, it should give me
hello, Augustine.
Augustine.
Name greeting is not found.
Is there anything wrong in whatever I have? Let me say the way I call it out. Is there anything wrong in it? I've not even called that module now. It's supposed, I can't just call greeting. Greeting from where? I think I have to attach it to, it will now be my module dot greeting, that testing module.
Yeah.
Dot greeting. Because it's coming from testing module.
Yeah.
And I provided the parameters inside. Let me run that.
Oh, the other thing you could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that testing module, you should have put name in the argument.
Okay. That's another thing that I think.
That's what I was talking about that time.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to put name into that.
Yeah, because that was, but I was wondering why he didn't underline.
How will you now understand name at the end of the day?
Exactly, because you just put name there and then that's what I was saying.
.py, then name should be
name there.
and save.
That's what I was saying.
And if I go to
Okay.
wherever now, and then I should run that. So you should be able to say
You
hello,
say
Augustine.
hello, Augustine. Huh?
So the,
So,
the aspect I'm bringing is what makes a model is that it's an aspect. The script is somewhere, but it's an aspect of a bigger work. And then you can always import it and it comes into the play and you can always use various aspects of things. And for me, this whole idea of module, this whole idea of assemblage, this whole idea of package, library, that was one of the things that led me to investigation of it because I noticed one basic thing that in the entire, whatever you are developing at the end of the day in Python, there are people who are working day and night who are, who are developing libraries, who are developing, but how do you engage with them and how do you take advantage of it? And that takes us to the aspect of this particular section, that of what is a model in relation to all other frameworks. And I will take us to this thing that I told you I've been serious working um, during the week, which is to on on mining, right? On mining and using Python and all these things. And you find out that most of what we have here, like let's say for instance, let me say uh, Twitter mining. Let's Twitter mining. Um, at the beginning, you see import JSON, you know, import 2P. These are packages, and like 2P, for instance, is a library. It's a library that contains packages, and packages contain modules. Now, what we do basically when we start using Python to do a lot of things is knowing how to be able to manipulate modules, packages, and libraries, and knowing how to call them. And knowing how to call them helps you even when you want to develop the one that is serving a different thing. I will use the theoretical understanding first so that I will not assume. And that will take us a little bit to theories instead of this practical. So I've opened some things on ground to use to illustrate that. Um, this is Papi, and it's a place, a package, or as we said about where we have the Python packages, various sorts of packages. And it's more or less like when I was reflecting about it, I was reflecting about it from the point of you have a laptop. When you have this, your Apple, the Apple laptop, you have let's assume all you have is the operating system. That's the OS, right? But there is no app. Now, you have to install app into it to be able to do various things.
mm-hmm.
So let's say you install Word into it, you install CorelDRAW, you install Word because you know what you want to use it to type. You install CorelDRAW because you want to use it to do graphics. You install Adobe because you want to use it to do. Now, think about Python as just that operating system. So Python is just like that operating system is just there. But people are inventing various things, which are like softwares for various purposes. Those things are what they call packages. And when you want to use them, you're sending something, you will have to call those packages. Now, when they make those packages from modules. And more than one package creates a library. If, for instance, if you look at 2P is one of the package. 2P is a package for mining Twitter. So which means that those who develop it want those who have knowledge of Python, right? Those who have knowledge of Python to import to install 2P into their Python, pip install, So
Yeah.
you do pip to install TWP into their whatever. And after
Environment.
installing TWP, to begin from TWP, to begin to call upon things from TWP.
Inside of TWP.
Inside of TWP. And then you will see, let's say for instance now, I share this window again. I go back to this. So you see, after I'm just using this, but I don't use this notebook to execute, to carry out that.
Okay.
It can be clearer, After, like this particular one now, where I have these codes, where I have consumer key, consumer secret access token, when I do that in what we call it, in a development environment, it's a module of its own. And I just call it in whatever when I'm doing. So, but I'm able to have various scripts at once here. So this is like a script of its own, instead of now. From the bigger framework, from the bigger library called TWP, inside something, I asked it from TWP, import OS handler. OS handler is a package inside the library. No, it's a module, sorry. It's a module inside the package. Inside the package of TWP. Just like the way we call for module. And then this OS handler.
TWP is a package, right?
TWP is a package. It's not a library.
Yeah.
It's part of a bigger library. You're saying, like now, if I have to be technical about that, let me just read out talk about the distinction between a library and a library and a package.
And a package.
Yeah.
Packages are in libraries.
Exactly. They're inside library, So a Python library is a reusable chunk of code that we may want to include in your program or projects. So a Python library do not pertain to a specific, but it can be loosely described as collection of core modules. And that's why I say that modules are together inside what we call it.
Inside
the
library.
But library can either, for me, the way I get it is some things can be called library. That same thing can also be called package. It can also be called package. But the difference is that some libraries can contain similar packages.
Okay, I understand.
Like TWP, for instance, is
almost like a Venn diagram, and you have some things inside one. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's say, for instance, let me give an example now. I told you about the PAPI.
Mm-hmm.
The PAPI, I think I showed PAPI the other
PAPI,
yeah. And PAPI is a library that contains packages. So if, let's say for instance now, if I want to allow my, what we call it, my Python, I want to be able to do some things with, let's say, Google's API and other stuff. I can go to PAPI and ask for this particular package called maybe Google API, Python. And then I can ask for the client side. You can ask for any other side. So PAPI brought out various forms of what we can say packages that I can install in order to work with what we call it, the API of YouTube. You're sending something, or the API of something on Google. It depends on what I want to do. But let's say, for instance, but inside this Google API is where maybe when I want to work on YouTube, it contains a package. So this is a library. Because when I install pip install, if you go and do pip install, let's say you do pip install Google API Python -client. You can begin to now deal with certain, what we call it, packages that contain modules. And you know that we can't, modules, modules is just like a script. And you know that scripts, small scripts will come together to make a package. Packages can come together, right, to make a library, So most of what we do pip installs are what we can say they are, what we call it, they are libraries. If you go to Python documentation itself, it talks about Python standard library, which is like when you talk about built-in function, built-in all these things, these are modules that have been written into Python and that you just call, you import them, import maths, import that, import
the statistics and all.
Exactly. And most times when you even call certain function, it's seeing it from a module, from a script. And that script is inside, the package. You're sending something. That's what we talk about, the Python standard library. And then you see a lot of things, which is function is part of it, which find these other ones, they become part of standard library. And then you see the reference that the guy was using in the library, from which was taken from Python standard library, right? Is to be talking about some built-in modules within it, and then he's using the modules in the example he used, is using the modules of knowing the system. The system Python has integrated with your computer. Python is already with your translator. So he was referring more to knowing the version of the laptop, knowing the version you're sending something, knowing the version you're sending, but that one does not really, it's a good aspect of example, but it does not solve the major problem, the concern in which grown-up men are doing. We are not just trying to test, we are, now, the next stage that we now access this. To understand this deeper, let me take us to common examples of libraries and Pythons that you will be working on to execute various things, and which you can even manipulate towards executing projects of your choice. Let me look for that, okay. I don't know. Okay. So, for the sake, since our research differs, right? For the sake of experimentation, you will notice that there are libraries containing packages and also modules. And when I talk about modules, I'm now referring to modules, the module that, like the one I did, for example, is a module of a function. So, but there are some modules that are just like parameters that you may need. So you see, these are libraries that has just been created for various purposes, just like the way you install softwares into your system. So when you want to say you experiment to start doing imports from these, do that, you can send it something outside your own, you have to be able to say, which project am I trying to execute? The first one, Pillow. Pillow is image library for Python. And once you pip install Pillow, within Pillow, you can always call various things to manipulate image. So features of Pillow is you can not only open and save image, but you can influence the image environment. When I noticed when they were, when we're learning part of machine learning, which to make the thing to be able to differentiate between cats and a dog, it was more or less there was some kind of import from Pillow, matplotlib. This one is more or less for mathematical. You will have seen a lot of people quickly do that. You see all those 1 week Python class they used to do. They will just say import from Matplotlib. And then you just wondering, what is import from? And then, you don't even, one does not understand the basics. And that's why I say many things just cleared in my head. Okay, you're sending something. And it's when those things are clear in your head that one can now use it to even do personal projects and create, because you can go into those packages to edit some things off for your interest. Or you can even use some packages that carry out certain duties when you need those duties to be done.
Yeah.
We just take them out, and that's Matplot. The third one is Numbi, which, import from Numbi, do this from Numbi, do this, you're sending something. And Numbi is more or less a package for array. I've attended some workshop on Python, and they will just start talking from import from Numbi to this. It was never been clear, But for me, in understanding how to move from module to package, which you yourself can even create modules in creating a library of a particular thing you want to achieve. The other one is OpenCV Python. And OpenCV is maybe for computer vision, for computer vision and all these things. So it's from within it. And then you will see people integrate, it's, for me, it appears as if they have done a lot of things, but they're just using an existing library, manipulating to achieve different things. That's computer vision. And then Request is another Python library that's it's been done, and it was released under Apache, and it's focused on making HTTP requests more responsive. Hypertext markup protocol, more responsive. And I think this more or less on when you are working from the server side, and then you are making people to have access, authenticate, and all sorts of things to configure requests from a server from people. So it has its own. Keras is another for neural network, deep mind, deep thinking, or deep learning. And then you have the TensorFlow, which is also for machine learning library. And we have the Theano, which is more or less like a compiler, in which sometimes, if for instance now we develop a particular framework, which we develop as this framework is a tutorial place. We want them to be it's just like, there's a Google, just like Jupyter, or there's a Google framework for compiling Python scripts. That Google, whatever, they say Google. So they use it, they created a back end on their own server in such a way to make their own platform. So we can say we have come up with a Python compiler, which can make people to just write some things on and we understand it from them. And then we install the natural language, this NLTK toolkit. That's the one for text, in which you used to break text into pieces. This library has been very important. You will see, I will show you some aspects of I use that to then fire is arrow. And so you can always, I can send this link and you can
yes, please
use that to explain the in understanding things that I've been doing, or you have been hearing, and you don't even know how to connect the dots together. Let's go back to the illustration I was using. Stop sharing. My system, I think I'm sharing the Jupyter scripts.
Yeah, Jupyter notebook.
You are seeing it, right? Yeah.
NLTK trial.
Exactly. So I was trying to do some things, because for me, the level we have now is that all those idea of we already understand the basics of writing an algorithm in Python. We understand the data type. We understand the idea of functions. We understand the ideas of classes and objects. You understand something. So it's high time we go into getting a deeper understanding through experimentation. So what I've been trying to do is some of the packages and libraries that are important for the exploration of my research, I install them. And from those packages, I see the basic things that we have been learning. Let's say, for instance, now, this particular code did not run because I was using a wrong JSON folder, because I'm asking it to do some things from this JSON file, but it's a corrupted one. But let me just from the kernel clean that up. Yeah. So it's saying after, I've already pip installed NLTK corpus. Then I said import from it stop word. Stop word is a module inside it. Import string. From LLTK, import biogram. Biogram is a, what do we call it? It's what do we call it? It's a module inside the NLTK package.
So Corpus is a package in NLTK.
Exactly.
So NLTK itself is a library.
Is a library.
Then stopwords is a module in Corpus.
Exactly. Exactly. You have interpreted it better. Great. Okay. Yeah. That's NLTK.corpus, just like the stop, and then import this import string from NLTK import program. Then assign.
So that string, where is it importing it from?
It's from the NLTK. NLTK, when I installed NLTK also contains things beyond what we can say. It contains, is a big library that contains corpus, it contains packages, it contains a lot of things, because it's just like, it's a full library of its own. It is a natural language toolkit. And it's anything that has to do with operating with natural language in Python, where you do the operation. So there's no way, just because this operation that I'm doing, the goal of this particular operation is, I just want you to extract, to stop certain words from a corpus. I'm saying maybe you have a particular document that contain text, so many texts, right? And those texts, right? If I'm asking for some major words in it, when you are writing text, if you say it may be so many, D may be very many, so many, A may be very many. So if you're asking for frequent words, or you are asking for certain things, those things will come up. Now, what the NLTK corpus have done is to have certain list of words that within a particular corpus, it will stop them from showing when you are asking for counting, when you are asking for certain things. So they build it. So when I ask for instance now, the idea of the stop words, let me show you, Google it. The NLTK pack library has more than just writing codes, but it has even done a lot of, so for instance, you say NLTK stop words. lists, stop word lists, so that you will see the kind of number of words that NLTK will remove from those things. It will be so much, it will be so much, you're sending something. So that is where you will see that many things that we are calling, and then you now say how it's going to operate or how it's going to work with it. Or let me use a small library like Twippy. Twippy is a small library. It's not as big. Twippy itself, people refuse to call it library. They call it package. Some people call it package because the only thing this one is doing helps to work with Twitter. So it was created for, but within it contains what we can say, I will see it as a library that contains packages. Part of the package will be auth handler, something that will be able to authenticate the account. Streaming, something which is a package that will be helping you to get whatever people are tweeting and streaming. So you will realize that streaming cannot be a module. It's a package because it contains many other things. And if you want to see it in action, let me go and commit error. Let me make a mistake in this thing. You will see it can write 1,000 error from 1,575 code line. Now I did not write 1,175. It's within whatever it's going to pick all those things from that I've committed an error that goes against it. Then if you now see the idea of from Twippy.streaming, import stream listener. So stream listener is inside streaming. Streaming is inside Twippy. From Twippy, import auth idler. I'm not taking other things that are inside the package of auth idler. From Twippy, import stream. Import Twitter's credential. Now, when I say import Twitter's credential, I've created the credential somewhere. So I'm asking it to, so if I'm running, I've created it somewhere. It's not like it existed inside this particular. So that's why I have to create a script that I've titled a module on my own, because that's where it's going to get my own Twitter credential for me to engage with Twitter, because there is no way to log in with Twitter, you understand? So I just asked it to import Twitter credential. Now, class Twitter streaming, we now take from stream listener, execute a particular class using these functions and the parameters that are inside. Auth handler will be taking all these keys, consumer key, consumer secret, consumer access token from my own, what we call it, credentials. Because what I get from Twitter, for me to be able to engage with Twitter, I have to go to the API of Twitter to get those credentials. So let me stop sharing this and show that on when I'm no longer making sense. Please just tell me, say, it seems you are not making sense again, so that I'll be able to know.
No, it's making sense. It's making sense.
Because I'm always afraid when I'm explaining things like this, so that. So let's say, for instance, now that I'm carrying out the same, let's say the same instruction in what we call it, in Visual Studio. Yeah, I'm carrying out the same instruction in Visual Studio. So let me say, so what happens is that I create initially, I have to create, did I do it here or I did it in Commando? So what I have, I have to create a script on its own that I call credential. You're sending something where I put those credentials. And that's why, like a module, the whole idea of creating a module. So a module does not necessarily mean that it's a function that has to be there, but you can also pass parameters into a module. So I'm trying to, So I'm trying to open that particular credential one so that you'll be able to see that credential stuff, where it's going to pick from. And then it picks all those things from there. Then the next one, Twitter stream listener. Now, the functions, the methods are inside the functions, on limit, on error, and this is an essential part that I told you initially that apps that I say the other course that we are doing that's actually introduced, because it's integrative. All of this are together, then the main should be executed, not just an individual part.
Wait, go back down.
Yeah.
Your hashtag list should be equals to now the Trump, there's a D.
Oh, sorry.
Is it okay? It's not case sensitive.
No, it's Python case sensitive.
Yeah.
And Python may be case sensitive, but I don't know whether it's case sensitive, but I'm not actually wrong. I'm just manipulating things.
You can't you do two strings?
But you want to see a full run of maybe to execute the entire instruction, right? This is what I use for something like that. This one, I'm just coming up with playing with their classes. That's not a real one. This one, after doing TP, import TP, from TP import Totanga, from import JSON, from TP import string, from this, instead of creating a different script, I put my token here. I put all these things I extracted from my API Python, which are like your user's name and password, but it's the only way, and Python does not want anybody to, what we call it, to have access to the backend. So you have to register as a developer, and then they give you your API details so that they'll be able to know who is integrating, because before somebody go and start bringing down their Python, and then all those authentication take place. Then this one is now to call my listener with stream listener, put these parameters, because all I just wanted is it should save whatever it's going to do. Let's say, for instance, I said it should save it. What is the latest tweet now? Let's say Joe Biden or Ash. Ash, what is going on? Ash,
elections or something. US election.
Saturday motivation, or Ash. What's going on Twitter now? What's trending? You don't. I was thinking you would check Twitter.
That's what I'm doing. I'm checking.
Okay.
Twitter.
Then we'll just do something. If I open Twitter, yeah, I have just a system. If I open Twitter, it will take us away again. Or you don't used to go to Twitter. Your church forbids Twitter.
Abba.
Some people may say church, sorry, church forbids Twitter.
Yeah, but obviously I don't use Twitter that much. I don't really use social media like that, to be honest.
No, me, I used to use it to do sentiment, to know what are people thinking about and what is disturbing majority as of now. Why is that thing disturbing? I'm in humanity, so we always try to enter into
it.
Now, if you go to what I do when I get to Twitter is to just look at trend and look at what is trending.
What's trending? So right now,
you can check on trend, and then they will on the side of Twitter, and then you will see trending.
I'm just trying to look for one hashtag. Okay, hashtag where I live.
Okay, can you copy and paste to chat room so that I'll be able to, because it's case sensitive. I can't see that.
You haven't seen it?
What happened? Is my chat going somewhere else? Okay, I've seen it. As where I live. Yeah. So for me now, I can say, okay, whatever is going to listen and whatever they are tweeting, you know, and you remember self, you know, my listener is actually the class, and my listener is, you know, the way I put name into this other one is taking, it could be, you can, it's taken from the data that to be supplied, you're sending some of me, and
Mhm.
executing my listener's instruction, and stream listener's instructions. Stream listener instructions is not from me, it's from streaming. Streaming is
Mhm.
from Tweepy's library, you know, and I didn't code that. So let me say I wanted to put it on a CVL document. So I can say where I live.cs, so that it can show us
CSV,
what
okay.
on the CSV. And then I can put the hashtag where I live as what is going to track from
Mhm.
the stream. Most of all these things are already built into those the library. So what I'm going to do now is to take them one by one, execute, ensure that this is already imported,
Okay.
import CP, import all these things. It takes some time because it's running through a whole
Through
range of, then authenticate, it has authenticated me, then execute this particular one. Now you may not see anything immediately, but you have to go back to the root. This thing is on my document, right? This script, it will send the CSV to my document, and it will keep taking whatever they are tweeting from there. So let's stop and share screen from my document. Let me share. Um, it can share document, right? Okay. So let me share my document, and that's I want to and the directory. Um,
Oni.
Oni, exactly.
That's my
The,
name.
I want that exactly. Now, um, group by, what did it group it by itself? You know, it's because I'm using this thing. My brain is slow when I'm reading Yoruba to understand the whole thing, you know, but it helps me to indirectly communicate with my brain so that I will not forget Yoruba. It's a conscious thing I want us to own. So where I'm expecting is, where is the directory where I have this particular thing? So let me trace the directory. The directory is documents, right? Mhm. Then,
I can just search for it.
okay. And what will I search for where I live,
Where
right?
I live, yeah, that's them. Or just search by .csv files.
Okay, or let me just type W. W will be so many. What I'm afraid of in the searches is I'm just like my system sometimes hangs or it contains a lot of things. Or let me, I've already typed that thing into that search, but my system behave like the one that has mental health. But some of the things we did today are already here. So greeting is here, uh, except where the my document directly where I think I have it is different from. Um, just a minute. Let me go back to that place and be able to trace my documents because um, this is my document directly from where um, I'm operating from. So let me see where I live. If you see it, Where? Maybe, am I searching for what does not exist? But if you look at, it's already stream listening, and it's already, and it's already, and then this thing is on document. Document is on notebook. Notebook is on localhost. Okay. Let me go back to that stuff.
Wait, it should be the one that is just. Can you click on that last modifier? Go up.
Up. Okay.
So as click that last modified.
Where is that?
Beside name, top right.
Which right?
Under upload.
Okay, last modified. A second ago. This folder.
I think maybe that's, yeah, maybe it has not finished.
No, it used to show it immediately. I've clicked on that folder.
Okay, change it. That's flip. Okay, 4 minutes ago. Document. So click that document.
The one below.
Yeah.
Because probably I have many users. So I don't know probably which of the documents, yeah, am I working from? Let me, but it's not as hard as this because I used to just see it immediately under my documents, and it's still running the thing and it's still streaming. Twitter mining algorithm. Well, don't let that take our time. The thing is just like it spoils the juju that I'm trying to do because like where is the result now? Let me look for other things I've mined and let me see where they go to. NSAS. NSAS is there.
I can't see them.
Okay, let me show them. Share. So these are the things I've mined. NSAS, NSAS2. So and they come to the same place as CSV.
Okay, just open the enters one. Let's see so that.
Okay, you want to see how it look like? What it comes up with? Okay. President-elect Joe Biden is also one of them.
Okay.
Let me open President-elect Joe Biden or Lekki massacre. What people have been doing. Okay, so let me stop sharing and open that thing and share this spreadsheet. Probably the problem is coming from Jupyter.
Yeah, it can be slow in its.
Yes. So probably Jupyter is the one that is
delaying. Yeah.
I will send this algorithm to you because I will send the algorithm to you too, and you can experiment. Though for me, at this point, when we know libraries, modules, and all these things, and we know we are going to many serious things, I feel maybe we should begin to experiment with libraries that is in line with our, and be able to share and be able to see the dimension that it's coming, and that will also involve what we say, some tutorial that is tailored towards, and you say your own is tailored towards machine learning. So if you look at those links, for instance, you should be able to know the libraries that you want us to take a look at, and so that we'll be going deeper from practice. So I've clicked on that thing. My system has gone low because all the things I've been using since money are opened. The website server, the everything, they are open. So that's why, and I know the system being slow to can affect the interpreter, and Jupyter is far away. Before the browser will do its own interpretation and relate with whatever, you know, and sometimes Jupyter used to turn teacher to a liar. At times, ordinary 2+2 in Python, it can be waiting for result for long. I think it has happened to us now. Before you now switch to another.
Yeah, I would say to was it PyCharm or Idle?
Those system resources may affect you.